This insistence upon innocence extends even into how we understand the past, and in particular to how we understand America's defining tragedy, meaning the Civil War. Some years back, U.S. News and World Report ran a story on how curators at Gettysburg and other battlefields of that war have gone out of their way to detach the war from its moral dimensions. When you visit those places, and I have visited many of them, you will be shown where such and such general made his stand, and this or that flanking maneuver saved the day, and the hill where this and that military unit came charging over. But you will hear little or nothing about why the nation tore itself into two pieces to begin with. I once visited a museum across the street from Central High in Little Rock, commemorating the 1957 standoff there, when the 101st Airborne Division of the United States Army had to be called out to escort 9 black children to school. One of the displays at the museum attempted to place that confrontation in context by evoking the Civil War. The United States of America, it said, fought to preserve the Union and abolish slavery. The Confederate States of America fought to defend states' rights, protect all property, and sunder all ties from an unsympathetic federal government. In other words, we are asked to believe that there's a moral equivalency between the two, that each fought for a praiseworthy and indeed for a noble cause. Small wonder then that according to a recent poll, 41% of us do not believe slavery was the primary cause of that war. That's actually an improvement, because there was another poll 4 years ago that reported that a majority of Americans and 2/3 of white Americans in the former states of the Confederacy believed that slavery was not the cause. Now, what makes that amazing is that the generation of Americans that fought that war could hardly have been more clear about why they did so. Abraham Lincoln said, quote, "One section of our country believes slavery is right and ought to be extended, while the other believes it is wrong and ought not to be extended. This is the only substantial dispute." Jefferson Davis said, he blamed, quote, "a persistent and organized system of hostile measures against the rights of the owners of slaves in the southern states." Vice President of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, said, "Our new government is founded upon the great truth that the Negro is inferior to the white man, and that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and moral condition." And after the war, Confederate General John S. Mosby said this, quote, "We went to war on account of the thing we quarreled with the North about. I never heard of any other cause of quarrel than slavery. Men fight from sentiment. After the fight is over, they invent some fanciful theory on which they imagine that they fought." Yeah, I like that quote too. And yet, so the record's pretty clear, and yet 41% of us, anywhere from 41% to a majority of Americans, have somehow convinced themselves that the Civil War was not in fact fought to ensure that my great-grandfather remained a slave, property of another human being from the date of his birth until the date of his death. The need to accord dignity to the memory of my great-grandfather is apparently less than their need to be able to claim innocence.